Everyone, thanks for joining our first webinar of August. I'd like to welcome RBC. So we have today Omer Ejaz and Alina Batul joining us. Do you guys want to?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Yes, and thank you, both of you, for coming in again as guest speakers. As you all know, that RBC has been doing a series of events with us. So it's great to kick off the month with them.
Thank you very much, Sonia. So first of all, thank you everyone for joining and welcome to our presentation today. My name is Omer Ejaz. I'm a manager of recruitment for RBC Advice Centers nationally. And we support hiring for advice centers and contact centers, and we'll explain what they are in more detail as we go along. But we have 5 centers, primarily in Mississauga, which is Toronto area. We have one in Moncton, Winnipeg, British Columbia, as well as Montreal, which is our biggest center as well. We also have small hubs that we support hiring for, so we have quite a diverse national team, that we support hiring for. I will also hand it over to my colleague Alina to just have a quick intro.
Hi, I'm Alina Batul. I am the recruitment coordinator and reporting analyst for the RBC Advice Center in Mississauga. Briefly, helping coordinate recruitment across the centers and helping onboard candidates. So I'm directly involved in screening candidates and putting them forward, and also reporting metrics for the recruitment to see how our hiring is going for advice centers nationally.
Excellent, thank you. On the next slide. So a little bit about myself. So I've been with RBC for the past 10 years. I joined back in actually August 2008 while I was finishing my last year in university. I'm originally from Pakistan. I immigrated with my family back in 2001. Canada has been just an amazing place to be. It has given me a lot of opportunities for development and growth, not just professionally, but personally as well. Looking at my tenure with RBC, I have been with RBC for the past 10 years, as I said, and it has been just a phenomenal experience in terms of learning, development, professional growth. My educational background is in economics, and then I have done my post-graduation in human resources and project management as well. Presently, I am a manager of recruitment, operations, and workflow. That's my official title. However, in simple terms, I actually manage a team of recruiters that supports the hiring nationally for our contact center and advice centers. In terms of my previous roles over the past 10 years, so I haven't been in this role for the 10 years, but I started as a customer service representative in the advice center, which we hire primarily for. Being my first banking job, first professional job, I knew this is the place where I want to be. This is the role that I want to do. So it was an opportunity for me to learn and develop. And, from there, I just had opportunity to move into different roles, senior specialty roles like credit advisor, investment advisor. I also moved into reporting and analytics for the recruitment teams. I recently was working with campus recruitment team. So campus recruitment supports the hiring for our universities and colleges across Canada. And so I was doing their reporting and data analysis. And just recently, a couple of months back, I was offered a position of manager recruitment. That's where I'm at. Again, quite diverse profile. I've had the opportunity to work in credit, investments, HR reporting, and recruitment. And for my hobby, I play competitive cricket, so many of you probably can relate to that. And I actually run my own club. So that's my off time where it goes other than family. So that's a little bit about me. I'll have Alina introduce herself as well in a little bit more detail on the next slide.
All right, so very similar to Omer, I also immigrated from Pakistan, but very recently. So I came to Canada 2 years ago. In 2016, and I joined RBC in 2017. So I did my education from Pakistan, so I did not study from here. I came out as a fresh graduate, and then at that point, I kind of just got the opportunity to move here. So how I joined RBC was through a future launch initiative. So just like RBC's diverse campaigns aimed at newcomers, RBC also has a few campaigns working directly towards youth and helping empower them and start give a kickstart to their career paths. So I joined in through a career through the program called Career Launch Program, which was a one-year rotational program in 2017. It was a one-year contract program where I was going through different areas. So I got a chance to work at the branch and do some customer service directly. So I worked at the branch for 6 months, and after that, I worked closely with our corporate citizenship department, where we were dealing with, our corporate, our CSR, our corporate social responsibility, and helping with mental health initiatives that RBC sponsors. And then later on, I found my way into HR, which was always a passion. And at the end of the year, I was able to secure an opportunity within HR. So I did my economics back from Pakistan, but I recently started doing my HRM certificate, which is called the Human Resource Management Certificate. So I'm almost towards completion of that. Hopefully in December I'll be done. So that is a little bit about my background. In terms of my hobbies, I'm an outdoor person, so I like going and taking road trips, and waterfalls is really one of my most visited sites. So that's something I like to do in my free time. I guess that's about that's about all for me. Next slide, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. So thank you, Alina, for sharing your bio. In terms of the structure or the organizational structure. So we are a global company. We have 80,000 plus employees worldwide. So we have business operations in, North America, UK, Europe, Luxembourg, Malaysia, Caribbean. So we are a global bank, and we're actually the number one bank when it comes to assets, in terms of assets for banking assets. Now, a little bit of a breakdown. So our CEO is Dave Mackay. As if you have done some research about our company, you'll probably find him on our page and had a chance to read about him. So really, where my team sits is the personal and commercial banking right at the top, and that's where that's actually one of the biggest business lines that we have. Under personal commercial banking, we have our contact center operations, we have our branches that are throughout the country, and so forth. We also have wealth management. So wealth management is where we handle securities, investments, corporate clients, corporate investments, and whatnot. We also have insurance, actually, where Alina and I am based in Mississauga, which is a suburb of Toronto. We have our building, which is next to it, is insurance. So we have a whole 9 towers full of insurance department. That's also a pretty big line of business. And we don't directly hire for those insurances, but insurance also has contact centers, and they hire for a similar sort of roles as we hire as well. Then there's investment and treasury services and capital markets. So these are all client-facing lines of businesses where you're dealing with direct client interaction. We also have technology and operations, and the reason it is put on one side of the chart is because it is more of an operational role. So we do quite a lot of hiring, and again, it's not through my team, but RBC hires a lot of students every year in their technology and operations department. That includes web developers, IT professionals, and so forth. And then on the right side of the chart, we have functions department, which is our national office, and that includes group risk management. We have our compliance, we have our audit, human resources, and then our brand and communication. So that's a bit of the overall holistic view of RBC's organizational structure. On the next slide. So this is where specifically RBC Advice Center and hubs are located. So as I mentioned, we have multiple locations across the country, right from west, which Vancouver, Calgary, Winnipeg, Mississauga in Toronto, Montreal, Moncton, and Halifax. So we actually, our operations are quite large. We really hire just within our advice center about 1,300 plus hires every year, and that is nationally across these hubs and advice centers. Now, the major locations I want to point out, which are the central locations, are Vancouver Center, we have Winnipeg, we have Mississauga and Toronto, actually, Montreal and Moncton. Halifax and Calgary are our newly designed hubs, and they are part of smaller contact center operations or advice center, I would say, and they are in the branches. So they're not full advice centers, but again, they do provide the support along with the branches, and that's why they're called hubs. Next, please. So we actually support three main lines of businesses, and actually there would be a fourth one as well, which we have recently acquired, and I'll talk very briefly about it. It's actually not on the slide, but it is also called our collections line. And so primarily we have three main lines of businesses. First is RBC Advice Center. RBC Advice Center hires for roles which are customer service. We have three main roles that falls within the advice center. Number one is our banking advisor. So just to give you a quick overview, and then Alina will talk in more details about what our banking advisors or customer service representatives are. They are frontline contact for clients who are calling in regarding their day-to-day banking needs. So it's basically a telephone banking channel. When our clients pick up the phone and they have to do a transaction, or they don't have time to go to the branch, or even after hours, then that's where the calls come in. And as an advisor or as a customer service representative, we take those calls promptly, efficiently, and ensure that the client, we're able to resolve their banking needs. And also, not just that, but also be able to give them advice if possible. The second is our RBC Direct Investing. It is our self-serve brokerage. And any clients who like to do their own investing for stocks or mutual funds or any of the securities, this is where we do not give them advice. And that's why if you see the title, there's a difference called contact center versus the advice center. These are licensed roles, and they're called investment service representative. You have to have your Canadian securities course and other securities designation in order to be able to work in this position and be able to handle trades for clients. They are senior roles in terms of because of the licensing requirement. Just going back to our customer service representative positions in the advice center, you do not need any licensing for those roles. So as long as you have customer service experience, you're passionate about providing great client experience, advice, and banking is your passion, absolutely. And then the third is our fraud center, which is located in Montreal as well as in Toronto. This is where when a client loses their credit card, or if they see an unauthorized transaction, or maybe perhaps there's a fraudulent activity on the card, that's where they will call in. These advisors have a very unique skill set where they will understand client needs, calm them down, and be able to facilitate in terms of whatever action is needed. And generally, when the clients are calling in, they're calling in regarding they're in a panic situation, and they have either lost their card, or there may be a transaction which they don't recognize, or maybe it's a fraudulent activity. So these advisors are very skilled in terms of handling those sort of calls and clients. So these are three main lines of businesses, and the fourth one is collections, where any roles, the advisors, where clients have outstanding dues and RBC is looking to recover them. That's where we make those calls to the clients to be able to provide them with a credit advice, restructuring of credit advice, and see how we can effectively recover those funds. Next slide, please. So this is a picture of where Alina and I'm sitting at the moment. Fantastic building, and this actually is how it looks. So just very quick overview. If you see on the right-hand side, that's where we are based. So all of our personal and commercial banking team sits here, and that again includes credit advisors, investment advisors, business banking, business advisors. In the central portion, we have where our national offices and HR team sits. And then on the left-hand side, that's our insurance building. So Mississauga and Montreal is one of the biggest centers that we have. And alone in this building itself, we have about 2,000 plus employees that are working. So from joining the advice center, the biggest benefit is the learning aspect of it, your networking aspect of it. So you'll be able to collaborate and connect with so many people, with so many different teams. And that's one of the advantages that Advice Center brings to the new hires, especially from your learning standpoint. You'll be able to learn a lot of information very quick, very fast. And not just only that, but you'll be able to develop those relationships, what will help you in your professional career growth as well. So that's definitely a benefit of working in the Advice Center compared to, let's say, a branch, because branch is obviously a limited place. Only a certain number of people will be there, and that will essentially be your network. So that's one of the advantages of joining the Advice Center. Next slide, please. So I will hand off to Alina, and she will talk about the roles in more detail. And she'll go through different lines of business and what kind of roles and what are the requirements. And again, some of these skills are required for the position. So listen carefully because when you are applying for these positions, you'll have a prior understanding what the requirements are and what sort of expectations of the role is that will help you to make a better decision, when you're applying.
Perfect. Thank you, Omer. So I will be giving a more in-depth overview of the three roles. So starting with the RBC Advice Center, and as Omer mentioned earlier, it's not called a contact center or call center just because we are providing tailored advice and solutions to our clients calling in. These clients rely on our advisors for the right solution or to guide them in the right direction with regards to their banking needs. So this advice center where you are possibly hired as a customer service representative, or you're actually internally called a banking advisor. So this is a very it's a highly digital atmosphere where you are providing solutions to incoming and outgoing queries through digital support. So this could be through phone, chat, or email, and you're again handling multiple queries at one time for the same client. And it is a very busy environment where on a busy day, you take around 60 to 80 phone calls. So again, what we're looking for is fast-paced customer service and, having that digital literacy to be able to navigate through the multiple softwares and resources provided to be able to provide tailored solutions to our clients. Another very important aspect of this role is, referring. So in this role, you're using your resources and your fellow advisors or fellow partners within RBC to be able to cater to the client's needs. So we rely on you as advisor to, refer the client to the right expert of the field so that we can provide them with the right solution. So as Omer mentioned, and even in the video, it was mentioned that the training program is pretty extensive. It is a classroom-style training program, which could last between 6 to 9 weeks, where we are providing you all the knowledge of the products that RBC has, as well as resources that you can leverage to provide that exceptional service. So in order to really find yourself into this role, we are looking for a few things. And the number one important thing is exceptional customer service. So at RBC, one of our main values is client first, and we look for that in every advisor that we do hire and train, because you are the first point of contact for our clients. You are representing RBC. So we want to make sure that you have a passion for customer service and have that prior experience to be able to, achieve success within this role. And I already mentioned the need for communication and digital literacy, just because it is fast-paced and there is multiple navigation. Another very important aspect for our advice centers is flexibility to work a variety of shifts. So it is a shift environment, and most centers do operate between 7 a.m. to midnight from Mondays to Sundays. So it is 7 days a week, and we do require full-time flexibility of working hours, just because for us, our client needs are a priority, and we want to make sure that RBC is always available in a good amount of time to be able to cater to their needs. So most centers, like I said, operate between 7 a.m. to midnight, but we do have a couple of centers which also have overnight shifts. So you need to keep in mind the flexibility aspect to see if this role would suit your current lifestyle and your preferences in terms of the work environment. All right. So moving on, next slide, please.
Just want to add to what Alina said. So thank you, Alina. Now, in terms of it's a very fast-paced environment. It will be very different than a face-to-face role. So anyone who is joining the advice center have to, we look for a couple of skills from recruitment standpoint. Number one is an excellent communication skills to be able to understand and respond to clients. We also look for your digital proficiency, which means that you have to be someone who is able to work with computers and softwares, because at a time you could be dealing with two screens and about 9 to 10 softwares where you have to toggle between different screens. And again, there will be metrics because it's a very metrics-driven environment. So, when you join, that's where I will reiterate that, yes, we do have a very extensive training program, which range from a month and a half to 2 months. And that's where we train you and we coach you and give you all the tools. But you also have to bring in your basic digital proficiency to be able to build on that, because that's very important for the client experience. And as you see in the last section, what will you do? You'll be looking to take about 60 to 80 calls per day. So, again, this is an average. Some calls may be short, some calls could be long, and so forth. And there are channels where you're taking incoming calls, you're making outbound calls, or it's a combination of both. So, again, keeping in mind that what we look for is, strong customer service skills, strong digital proficiency, ability to work, different types of shift based on the business needs, as well as a very strong communication skills, to be able to successfully perform in this role as a banking advisor, or externally they're also called as customer service representatives.
Perfect.
Thank you. Next slide.
All right. So, like mentioned in the video as well, and Omer also touched upon this, RBC really focuses on our employees' development in terms of their career and professional upbringing. So, starting off as an entry-level position within the advice center is basically kickstarting your career into the banking industry. We've had many advisors move up fairly quickly to be to other roles within RBC. These could be within the contact center or within the branch or even otherwise in our support services. But I would like to share the main line that most advisors do follow. So a banking advisor could start and then eventually move into business advisor. So instead of providing services to clients, you're now dealing with business queries. And then you could similarly move up to be a senior business advisor or banking advisor, and then you could even become specialist. So you could be a specialist for investments if that is your passion, or a specialist in the credit field and deal with their expert queries only. And then similarly, like I mentioned, there are a lot of opportunities in the branch. So if you want to move away from a phone-to-phone interaction to a face-to-face interaction, this role does provide a lot of basis to move into those roles. You could become a financial advisor down the lane, or a financial planner. You could even get into retirement planning, or are, mortgages and, home and equity finance. So a lot of roles are available depending on your interest and opportunities available. But the bottom line is that we have seen most of our advisors grow and, change roles over time so that they are working towards their career growth and success as well. Anything you want to add to that, Omer?
No, yeah, so that's fairly clear. So the one of the things that I'll stress is you will start. So banking advisor is an entry level position into banking or into the advice center. But if you look at the career mapping, there are a lot of opportunities for development and growth. One of the things I want to reiterate is each role within RBC Advice Center has a tenure commitment of 18 to 24 months. But again, based on business needs, based on the roles that you're looking to move into, we do have employees who are strong performance, who do have an opportunity to move to these roles sooner. So depending upon, there's not one career path. You can choose multiple paths. You can become an investment advisor, then you can become a credit advisor. That was my career path. You can even become business advisor, and then finally move into more senior roles within the branches, which, as Alina mentioned, financial advisor, mortgage specialist, financial planners, and they're very senior roles with, on average about 5 to 6 years plus of experience, because that's where you're giving very strong and complex investment and credit advice to the client. So all of these previous roles in the advice center will help you build on that knowledge and experience to be able to successfully perform in these roles. And these are client-facing roles, but you can also choose to move into non-client-facing role, which could be in the back-end operational roles, or maybe a coaching positions or training positions, or perhaps HR, depending upon the available opportunities. So again, as long as you have a strong performance, you have a strong brand, you're a good performer in your role, and your career path is defined in terms of where you want to go, the management team or your manager works with you to ensure that you're setting up for success, and so forth. So definitely this is just one sort of channel, but again, your career path could look different than what is there. But these are some of the roles and options that are available. Someone who is looking to grow within the advice center network as well as in RBC.
Next slide, please. Thank you. So now I will be covering the second role that Omer briefly mentioned before. This is within the RBC Direct Investing Contact Center, and the role is known as Investment Services Representative. So again, a very important difference is this is a contact center, not an advice center, because you're only helping clients conduct their investments and not providing any sort of advice or recommendation. So again, RBC Direct Investing is a self-service investment brokerage channel that RBC has for its clients. These are high-value investment clients. Most of them have some investment knowledge, so these are not everyday banking products that you're dealing with, because of which you do require some certifications, which I will briefly touch upon. But again, the focus is to provide helpful, engaging, professional, efficient, and knowledgeable service over the phone or through written communication. Again, this is a digital space. So we want to make sure you have the multitasking skills and the digital literacy, like mentioned before, to be able to deal with the multiple software and all the investment needs of these clients. Again, we do have a comprehensive training program, ready for you guys if you do join. It is a 6-week comprehensive program where we deal with all the different features of our brokerage channel to be able to help our clients. So on an average day, you take around 30 to 50 calls. It is less than a typical advice center environment, just because these calls could be more detailed or in-depth, because you're dealing with investments rather than just everyday banking queries. And then again, you are basically looking to provide service in terms of, navigating through the brokerage website and helping clients, conduct trades and providing them with trade information in terms of securities, their prices, and similar information, which is the market information for them to make an active and informed decision on their own. So we do have some more requirements that are required in terms of to be able to perform this role. This role does require a university or college degree or diploma. And because we are dealing with investment clients, our service levels are expected to be higher. So we do require 1 year of minimum customer service, along with communication and digital literacy, like I mentioned. This role, just because you're dealing with, securities and trades and a lot of investment knowledge, we do require some accreditations, which are on the next slide, please. Perfect. So along with the basic requirements, we do require the following four accreditations to be able to be a licensed investment service representative. So the four accreditations are the Canadian Securities Course, the Conduct Practices Handbook, the Derivatives Fundamentals Course, as well as the Options Licensing Course. So you could start with the RBC Direct Investing even without these courses, but we do require a commitment in terms of completing these courses within the 6 months. And depending on any of the accreditations that you already have, we will adjust our deadlines, our timelines accordingly for you to complete the remaining courses. So for example, starting off with no accreditation, you will be given 30 days to complete your CSC1 and CSC2, which is your Canadian Securities Course, and then 7 days after completion of CSC to do your CPH. And then you have, after those 7 days, you have until the first 6 months to complete your derivatives and options licensing. So again, we're looking for somebody who has a lot of passion in investment and have a knack for trading and enjoys that kind of an environment, and has has an interest in building a career in investment eventually. So similarly, if you have your CSC already, we will then be giving you 7 days to do your CPH and derivatives and options licensing. And then similarly, if you have your CPH, we give you 2 weeks to do your options and derivatives licensing. And if you have all of them, it's good for you and good for us. You're ready for the floor right away. So again, training is installed right away. It is a classroom training where we are providing you with resources and knowledge that goes into these examinations as well, along with some practical hands-on experience with regard to dealing with these clients. Another very important aspect, like I mentioned earlier, for the Advice Center is, again, flexibility to work a variety of shifts. So like the other contact centers, this is also a shift environment. And for direct investing in particular, we are operative 6 days a week instead of 7 days. And we do largely operate between 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So the timings are shorter for direct investing, and we do have our direct investing contact center in Mississauga, which is in Ontario, and Montreal and Quebec. So these are the two major direct investing contact centers within Canada where you could possibly be placed if you are interested in direct investing. Perfect. So moving on to the next slide. All right, so this is the fraud center. So we briefly discussed the direct investing and the advice center, which was located in Mississauga. Our fraud center is actually located in Toronto, which is the main hub. This is basically a picture of our fraud center, where our advisors are dealing with fraudulent activities or incoming queries with regards to our any possible suspicious activities. Again, it is a 24/7 environment, and more details are on the next slide. Perfect. Thank you. So within the fraud center, we are responsible for monitoring and investigating any fraudulent activities or suspicious activities to be able to safeguard our clients' banking profiles and accounts. So our main aim is to make sure we are letting the clients know that we are there for them, and making sure that we are monitoring their accounts to ensure in full protection of their accounts with us. As a fraud agent, a typical call would entail a client calling in. They may have lost their credit card, or they may have seen some suspicious activity on their credit card transactions, and they're calling mostly in a very apprehensive tone to help to asking for help with their accounts. So we are looking for advisors or agents, so to say, to be able to empathize with the client, and assure them that we are here for them and we will take ownership of fixing a situation if it is not the client's fault, and also ensuring that we will be looking into future and comprehensive protection of their banking needs ongoing. So as a fraud agent role, again, the training aspect is again classroom 4 to 9 weeks. But what we are specifically looking for, along with customer service, is analytical skills and investigative skills. So if a client is calling in, we want you to have those, good listening skills to be able to catch on cues, to be able to navigate through the problem as soon as possible, and to reach the right solution, or to reach the right to reach to the right possibility of why the fraud or why the transaction occurred, and how we can overcome it, or how we can fix it, and how we can also prevent it from happening again. So it is a contact center environment, so this is all over the phone again. But just because we want to be available to our clients all the time in case the fraudulent activity happens at any time of the day. It is a 24/7 environment. And again, I would stress upon the flexibility of working a variety of shifts between Mondays to Sundays, 24 hours a day. So again, along with a year of exceptional client service, we are looking for the same skills, which is digital literacy, and strong navigational skills and multitasking skills. French language skills is always an asset for any of our roles, as Montreal hiring is focused on French. And again, along with customer service, the main difference in this role is having those, analytical and investigative skills to be able to problem solve right at the spot, and also refer it to the right colleagues or partners to be able to find a solution for our client. Next slide, please. All right. So I'll give it to Omer to go over our process of hiring, so that you guys know what the steps are like.
Perfect. So thank you, Alina, for the detailed overview of all the roles. So what you're looking at this slide is our end-to-end recruitment process. So if you look at the left-hand side of the process map, that's where you'll apply. And for our ACCES candidates or ACCES partners, we have dedicated links that we have provided where you can submit your applications. And the first step is, once you submit your application, a recruiter will review, a recruitment coordinator in this case, Alina, will review your resume and will advise you of the next step, which is an online assessment. Online assessment is about 1 to 1.5 hour process. You do it through the comfort of your home. And it is the assessment where we test you on your navigation skills, computer skills, and as well as behavioral skills that are required for these roles. Now, we do have the assessment for Advice Center and Fraud Center. We do not have the assessment for direct investing, and that's why you will see the box right above. It does not have direct investing in there. However, once you're successful with the assessment, you are moved to a digital interview. So it will be a web-based interview where a recruiter will call you. You will log on through a webcam through your computer, and then they will have about 30 to 45 minutes interview. And should you be successful in that, then we have what we call a group interview or a hiring manager interview. Group interview is something where we bring in about a group of candidates, and they are presented in front of the panelists. It's about 2 hours process where you come in, you go through different activities, and that's where you get selected as the final decision. And we do that for Advice Center and direct investing. For fraud roles, we have one-on-one hiring manager interviews, and we do not have the group interview process at the moment. Once you are successful in any of these interviews, then you are extended an offer. Once you get an offer, you do go through background checks, which is about 2 weeks process. And once they're cleared, then you start your training. So that's really the overall process. I would say can take anywhere between 3 to 4 weeks from you getting an offer to your starting. But we do have multiple starts that we offer to our candidates, and based on your needs and based on the next hiring, we work with you to ensure that you are the timelines work for you. Next slide, please. Perfect. So these are some of the resources where you can follow us. I would highly encourage you. A lot of good information through Twitter, social media, LinkedIn, Facebook. We have a career site. We also have our job site as well. So visit these websites, visit these resources, because it'll not only give you more information about RBC, but different lines of businesses and what are we doing in terms of our corporate social responsibilities, and just an overall knowledge and understanding about what RBC is up to. So a lot of good information on these different websites and social media groups. Next, please. So that brings us to the end of our presentation. We went a little bit longer, so our apologies. But just want to say thank you. Hopefully you would have, you find this information and presentation useful, knowledgeable, and that will help you to make your decision should you be applying to our advice center roles. Again, fantastic opportunities, great roles to kickstart your career. Whether you're a newcomer to Canada, whether you're someone who is an existing professional, whether you're a new graduate, we're always looking for great candidates, and these roles will certainly give you that platform and base to help develop and enhance your career within banking. One thing I want to stress, though, we look for full-time positions only. So anyone who is looking to work full-time, all of our roles are actually full-time. We do not have part-time opportunities at this present time for these roles. Other than with the exception of collections, I think we may have few, but that's about it. So I just want to say thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time. And, if you have any questions, absolutely let us know. We'll be more than happy to answer.
Thank you, Omer and Alina. That was a great presentation, and we do have a lot of questions, so we can turn our cameras on, and I will throw the questions your way. A lot of people are asking, actually, where can you tell us more about the Career Launch program?
Talk about that.
Sure. So the Career Launch program is only focused at fresh graduates. So if you're coming out of school and you're within the first 2 years of graduation, you are maybe a good fit. You can look up at Careers website for more information, but their hiring cycle is yearly, so it's an annual program. And I believe their hiring starts in November and their start is in March. So it is towards the end of the year when they do start hiring for the next year. And again, they do have a limited number of opportunities in that program. So Canada-wide, it is 100 people that they do hire annually.
Okay.
Yeah, and just want to add to that, it's a rotational program, so where you'll get an opportunity to work into different businesses, different lines of businesses. That may include branches, that may include HR, operation roles. So it's a mix of different things. I think you have different, like, couple of months sort of roles in each department.
So it's 6 months at the branch, and then the rest of the 6 months are divided into 3 and 3. The second rotation is always in corporate citizenship, where they pair you up with a charity and work on a particular cause that RBC sponsors. And the last 3 months are in the head office, where they try to match you with a line which matches your preferences. And if the opportunity is available, they give you a chance to experience that area. Again, I would stress that RBC Careers website would give you more information directly in terms of hiring needs, hiring timelines.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Next question is from Henny. Wants to know if there's any training or a training period. Are the costs covered by RBC? Are people paid during these trainings?
So simple answer is yes, absolutely. So once you are hired by RBC, you are a full-time employee of RBC. Your salary starts from day one. And all the trainings are covered, they're paid for, and even just want to reiterate the licensing for direct investing roles. If you do not have those licensing, you'll have to pay for them, you'll have to clear them, and then we will reimburse you for those once you're successful. So yes, absolutely, you'll be getting paid for the training.
Perfect, thank you. So a lot of people are asking questions about starting up or just, they're like starting at the bottom at customer service level. And some people are saying, yes, they're fresh graduates, they could get in, but then some people might be a bit too overqualified. But because that's the stepping into the door, what do you suggest to people that might be too overqualified for those positions?
So, well, first of all, I think you can never be too overqualified because again, these are sort of generalist role. Again, yes, if you are an engineer and if you're coming into a customer service role from the recruitment standpoint, we might question you as to why. So we just not look for people who are coming with a customer service experience or background, but we want to hire, candidates that can show us that yes, banking is their passion. Banking is where they want to go because again, this is not a short-term, a contract role or a career it's more of a career opportunity. I mean, looking at my example, and I can assure you there are many of my colleagues who have average tenure for 20 years plus in RBC. And the reason why is because this is just a starting point for you. You come in, you learn the basics, you learn the banking, whether you're someone with a financial experience or a non-financial experience, doesn't matter. As long as you have good communication skills, you have good customer service skills, you can definitely start and then work your way up to more senior positions. Again, if you we have hired candidates that has had medical professions in their countries, but they're coming to Canada. They may just want to change their profession. They may just want to get into banking and so forth. So definitely, we'll consider each and every applicant based on their credentials, their interest level. But one thing that we look for is you have to be passionate about and motivated to be here. It's and not something where I'll try it for a couple of months and then I'll go back to what I like doing. So that is one of the advice I'll give you because recruiter will definitely uh, ask you a lot of questions to make sure that you are the right fit for the roles as well as the job is the right fit for you because we just want to add you to a position where you may feel bored or it may not fall within your interest or career path. So, that is one advice I'll give on that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. A lot of people are also asking, inquiring about, you talked about a few roles. They want to know where's the best place to check out the salaries for these roles. Would they
So,
be on your website or?
so salaries are basically not advertised anywhere because salaries are based on, unique candidate as well as the experience they bring. However, what I can advise you is, the starting salary for our advice center positions are 35, and for our direct investing, they start at 40,000. That's the range. That's where they start at. But again, salary is not the only component. We offer comprehensive rewards package that includes your benefits, your vacations. We have bonuses at the year end. We have premiums that we offer, whether it's a language premium or a shift premium. So it all adds up. So that makes the whole compensation package as more rewarding. And base salary is just one component of it. So, I mean, to answer your question, that information unfortunately is not advertised, and we don't do it. But once you do come to a stage where you're speaking to a recruiter, yes, then at that point, you'll be given more details as to what salary for that specific role is.
Perfect, thank you. Patrick has a question, wants to know how long is the entire process from applying to a job and then receiving an offer?
Oh,
Or
I
is
would
it
say,
different for each position?
yeah. So really, I mean, it could take anywhere between, I would say, 6 to 8 weeks. And depending upon, we get a lot of applications. We get a lot of candidates that we need to review. We need to ensure that their profile matches what we're looking for. They have to go through the assessment. And again, it's 6 to 8 weeks is the range because it also sometimes depends upon the candidate as well. I mean, you apply today, we can send you an assessment tomorrow. And then the candidate can complete an assessment the next day. But if the candidate is not completing the assessment within the next couple of days, obviously that will add time. So really, I would say end to end, it could take anywhere between, the shortest would be 4 weeks or 5 weeks, and the longest it could be perhaps 7 to 8 weeks. But generally, we are a very fast-paced environment, as I mentioned, and that also involves our recruitment. So we have hiring needs that we consistently hire for. We have a lot of movement that happens within the advice center. People move to new positions. And one of the things I want to stress is if you're someone who's coming new to the bank, all the internal roles, which are specialty roles, credit and investment, which are next roles, are all filled with these our entry-level position, which is our customer service representative and banking advisors. So when people are ready for their next role, they're moving up, and we need to backfill these positions. So that's where we are constantly hiring. We have classes, if not every month, it's every 2 months. So there will always be a time when you apply, and should you be a successful candidate, we'll be able to offer you a role.
Thank you. We've got a lot of people, we get this question all the time because it kind of worries people, but they want to know if they don't have any Canadian experience, how are they eligible for these positions that you are advertising today?
You don't have to have any Canadian experience. That's not a requirement for this role. What we ask you is you bring good customer service skills. So you could be someone who could have previous banking experience. You could have previous customer service experience, whether it's retail, or whether it's in a contact center back home. You can be someone with no customer service experience, but you could be someone who is looking for a career change. So anyone who is really passionate and who wants to be in banking, and that this is what you want to do and this is where you want to grow, absolutely will consider your application. One of the things that we do ask for is digital literacy. So you have to be someone who is good with computers. And when I say good with computers, is basic navigation, emailing, because that's the requirement of the job. If you're someone who is not very strong with computers, then you will struggle in these roles, because the expectations are that you're able to meet metrics and you're able to meet goals. And the goals are not just taking calls, it's how many calls you take, what is the time frame that you are able to resolve the call. So the different metrics that you're measured on, and that really leads to your success. And then also on top of that, someone who enjoys speaking to clients, right? If you are someone who has always done a back end role, and you may not enjoy dealing with people, then it may not be the best role for you, because really you have to engage conversation, you have to ask questions, you have to understand clients, and then also look for opportunities to develop that relationship, right? And that's where you'll have your target. So yeah, these are some of the skills that we look for. But again, if you don't have any Canadian experience, absolutely, we hire so many candidates who are newcomers to Canada. But again, they bring very strong skills in terms of what they can offer to the role.
Thank you. A lot of people also want to know, and this happens a lot, I'm sure you get thousands of people applying for jobs. So if they don't hear back, they kind of feel disappointed, and it's just, can you just give them some advice, letting them know that, never take this personally and keep applying for jobs that show up. But is that something that you would tell them as well?
Absolutely. So our process is very fast, as I mentioned, and I know that it depends. I mean, I'm going to talk specifically about our role. So just to give you an example, Alina, candidates reviews, we review resumes on daily basis, and and based on how many we have in the pipeline, we actually review them and we move them to the next step. A couple of things. One is that based on the volumes that we get, and what is possible is we action the candidates as soon as we are able to review them. So if someone is going to the next step, they will get an email from us saying that congratulations, you're moving to the next step, and here is the assessment, please complete. They complete the assessment, they move on to the next step. Whether you're unsuccessful in the assessment, we'll let you know. If you're unsuccessful in the interview stage, we'll let you know. We do advise you. Another thing is, if you're not considered for the role, let's say your resume is not competitive, or we have the stronger candidates at the time that we are comparing to, then we will disposition or decline your application, but you'll also see that on your applicant tracking, on your dashboard when you apply for the role. So when you go to your RBC website where you submit your application, there's a bar which says application status, and it'll tell you exactly which stage are you at. So if you're not selected, the messaging is, you're not selected for this opportunity. We wish you all the best. please apply again, and it'll give you some small verbiage. If you are moving on to the next step, then recruiters are engaging with you and they'll keep you posted. If there's any feedback that they can provide you that can help you in your development, absolutely, they do that from time to time based on when the feedback is required.
And
Thank you. Yeah.
if I could just add to that, our roles are looked at very differently. So if you are declined for one role, does not mean that you cannot apply to other roles within RBC. So for example, if you were interviewed for a role within the advice center and you were unsuccessful, you are more than welcome to apply to other opportunities, which may be customer service as well within RBC. These could be opportunities at the branch or elsewhere, but our decline for one role does not mean that other opportunities within RBC are not open to you.
Thank you. That's very great to hear, because a lot of times a lot of organizations kind of tell them not to apply to other roles if they've already applied to one, or wait 6 months, whatever it is. So it's nice to hear that, RBC is encouraging this. We've got one last question that we have time for. Mona wants to know, how easy is it to get an internal transfer from contact center role to a branch role?
So depends. I would say it all depends upon the employee at that point situation. So depending, if you're coming into the advice center, there are role commitments. There are tenure commitments, as I mentioned. So if you start as a customer service, we expect you to be in the role anywhere between 18 to 24 months, right? And again, that may not hold true for everyone, because again, that is the commitment that we expect you to. But again, if you're a strong employee, if there is a need, if you're coming across a role which is let's say 12 months down the road, you have a chat with your manager and they can work out to say, okay, is this the best role? Is this not? So having said that, again, the requirement to be able to move internally is that your performance has to be strong. Because think about it, if you're coming into one role and your performance is not strong enough to be able to go to another role, the acquiring hiring manager would ask the question, or they will do the reference check. So it may not be a very strong case for you to get into that role. But again, I will also say that that 18 to 24 months commitment is not written in stone. It varies from candidate to candidate, and how well you are performing in your role and where you want to go, and if there are opportunities available, right? Because if, let's say, you're looking to move to the branch, but the branch is not hiring in your region, obviously you're not going to be able to move. However, what you can do is you can speak with your manager, you can work with them to ensure that you discuss your career path and where you want to go, so they can assist you and they can facilitate you, when the time is right.
Perfect. Thank you, Omer and Alina, for joining us, and thank you all for watching. And Omer and Alina, before you go, do you want to just say anything before you leave?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for you, Sonia, for organizing this, and Access Employment, and we work in partnership with them, and to all the candidates and to who are potential candidates for RBC. So do consider advice centers as your career choice. Exciting place to be part of. Great opportunities for development and growth networking. So hopefully, we'll get some applicants, applying to our roles, and we'll go from there. But I want to thank you for your time and wish you all the best.
Thank you. All the best, and we look forward to your applications.